think it's inevitable AI is going to change education because AI is going to change everything. We're seeing how it changes healthcare, financial markets, and all of that. I think what's really interesting when I think about AI in education is the number of touch points it has in education. You know, it's very easy to say AI in education and think about how is it going to change maybe the classroom experience or how students learn. But I think a lot of the impact is going to come in all of the wraparounds that students experience. How do they find the schools they go to? How do they decide how to apply to schools, and what kinds of coaching do they get around that decision making? How do they decide what paths to take through their education? How do they think about a career path and majors and courses and make smarter choices about those things? How do they figure out how to take advantage of our alumni networks and the ways that all of the information we have about our alumni network can amplify their particular goals? Those are the places where I think there's a lot of potential that we sometimes forget to think about when we think about AI in education. Because in the classroom, you know we've got an instructor who is thinking about what are the right tools for me to bring in for this specific objective. But we want to think about all of that other sort of piece that we know the W&J education is more than just these isolated slices of education in the classroom. It's the whole package. The last time I had a sabbatical, my major project was figuring out, but how do I develop an AI course that is for every student on campus? I did that because artificial intelligence is being deployed in every industry. The only way to ethically work with these tools is to have some understanding of them as something other than magic. And so what I've really been working to do is think about how can we make knowledge about these systems that can demystify it and equip the average student from any area of the campus to say, if I'm in my workplace or I'm in my life and I'm trying to figure out, should I use this AI tool? What should I be doing with it? What does it look like to use it responsibly? What are the right questions to ask? Not to be skeptical in a knee-jerk AI is bad way, but also not to be reflexively AI is the magical answer to everything. So how do we become critical consumers of AI? We've always, as educators, thought about how do we bring tools into the classroom that further our educational goals. And thing one is always to start with, what are your outcomes? What are your objectives? You don't want to pull tech into a classroom just because it's the shiny new thing. You want to ask yourself, how is it going to further student education? And one of the things that we do very well at W&J is we focus on how can we have our learning be as high impact as possible. That's things like first-year seminars and community engagement and capstone experiences and writing intensive courses and all of these things that have embedded in them a lot of personal interaction. As I think about how we at W&J want to incorporate these tools, we're always going to think about how can we use them to supplement the class without getting in the way of those deep personal interactions between the students and between the interactions in the students and the instructor. I don't think we'd ever want to see students say that they'd rather work with an AI than have a professor help them revise their paper. And so in that context, what we want to think about is how do we talk to students about the role of the tool, what it can do for you. This is a good tool for, in this assignment, setting up structures. Here's how you might use it to brainstorm your idea. Here's how you might use it to think of different ways to say something. Whenever I think about how we're going to use AI in the classroom, I go back to the fact that we've actually been doing this for decades. Because we lose track of how much technology that we're used to in day-to-day life now was cutting-edge AI a while ago. I think we're going to see that it is one more tool that we incorporate to different levels and different ways. And I actually go back to search engines as really a very similar type of new AI technology that we've now become very comfortable incorporating into the classroom. But I remember when they came out, and I was just early in teaching, there was a lot of concern about, does this mean that students are never going to learn anything anymore? Are they never going to absorb facts? Are they never going to go to the library? And the answer is we incorporate it into our teaching. You're always going to want to make sure that students have the underlying essential fundamental skills, because that's how you use AI knowledgeably. And then we're going to make sure that students at appropriate places also figure out how to incorporate it into their learning. And I think that a big thing that's going to happen is we're going to get to see how these tools develop in different domains differently. It's not necessarily going to look the same in all of our different disciplines. And so we're going to get to figure out how professionals are using these tools and how it's effective. We're going to get to see how there may be domain-specific versions of these generative tools and how they can pull into our classroom. I'm sure what's going to go on in the music department is going to be very different. That's what's going to go on in my department or over in economics. They're going to look very different. But we can use our experiences with seeing how we're going to layer these tools into our classroom in different ways at the introductory and intermediate and advanced level to have it be one more tool students use, and it's not going to have to replace the essential skills that we still want students to take out of their college education.